see me like I see you. To believe you, to forgive you. If I focus my mind and I keep it. I'll forget you, then I'll see you. That's why. Not gonna think of all the dope things that I did with you. Also, that's why. I'm not gonna click on your icon to watch you stomp me. Cause I know it's gonna hurt me. I don't wanna lose all the love that I have for you. I'm on top. And I know that it means all the things that I want you to. But I know you don't love me. You don't see me like I see you. To believe, to forgive you.
Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody? How's it going, guys? Where's my book? How is everyone? I'll tell you how I am. I am pretty tired right now. Did not get a lot of sleep last night. Had to wake up because today I am flying to Europe to get ready for Paris Con. But that is a very exciting thing. And I plan to sleep a lot on this plane. So that is how I am. Very excited to leave. And pretty tired, but in a very excited way, if that makes any sense. It's your 13th birthday. Happy birthday. Holiday here. That's awesome. Yes, I can't wait to see everyone in Paris. It's very exciting. Oh, that's very exciting. I look sleepy. Got some coffee today. I maybe. I might not, so I can sleep on this plane. But my face screams let me sleep. Thank you, guys. Anyways, as you all know, we are here to discuss our most recent book. I hope all of you finished it. The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. It has been a bit of time since we've had one of these awesome meetings where we discuss the amazing world of literature, but I think this book was... Before I talk about it, let's jump right in. Today's going to be a shorter live because I do have to head to the airport. So let's just dive right in right away. I'm very excited to discuss with all of you. Let's start with one-word ideas of the book. How did we like it? What did we think? How did we feel? How did the book make us feel? Because I felt like this book was incredible at making us feel things. Captivating. Love it. Loved this book. Interesting. A lot of things to say about the whole book. Good. Can't wait to hear them. Heartbreaking at times. Yes, this book broke my heart. I agree. Educational and heartbreaking. I loved it. Loved the themes surrounding identity. Camille, that is dope. Cannot wait to hear you talk more about that. Blossoming, sharing, learning. I like that word blossoming. Interesting. Loved it. Heartbreaking. So emotional. Beautifully composed. 3 words. Symbolism. Identity. I've loved everything. Emotional. What the heck in Polar? I like how you did everything in caps. Interesting. Very well written. Emotional connections. I have to agree. I thought this book was beautifully written. Beautifully written. There are some parts that really struck me. I loved how we got to hear different stories and somehow they got together to one. The writing is wow. I love it. One of my favorites you've read this year. Deep and makes you think. Engrossing. Ooh, good word, Caitlin Spree. Amy Tan says she doesn't write to educate, but that is what this book does. Love learning about the culture. Heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time. The end made me cry. I'm new here, so I didn't read the book, and I'm looking forward to reading the next one. All right. Cool. Well, welcome to your first discussion. This is kind of how it starts off. We ask how everyone liked the book. If they didn't, is there anyone that didn't like the book? The writing style is amazing. The plot is full of emotions and inspiration. Unexpected ending for me. I love the fact we got the perspective from each generation, thoughts and feelings of the mothers and the daughters. I agree. I think that was done very well. And I like how we started with one age group, went back and forth, and then the last few chapters in the last section were, mother, daughter, mother, daughter, mother, daughter. Heartbreaking, but beautiful. Love that. Oh my god. Likewise. Give me one sec. I type with a purpose. Okay, this book was really inspirational, the difference between two generations in two different countries. I've watched the show. Okay, thank you. The yawns are beginning. Get ready for the chain reactions. Hey! I'm sorry to deviate, but has anyone told you how much you resemble Brennan Urie? Yes, I have gotten that before. I found some parts confusing, but maybe that's because my English isn't the best. Okay. Possible. I thought it would be confusing with all the different stories, and people, but what? Why is this not working? Okay. Yes, it kept me hooked the whole way. I have to agree. Okay, so I have to agree that for me, culturally, this book really did, I learned a bit, as much as you can, in a book. I think Amy Tan did a really great job of not only showing the different perspectives, but hearing the different voices of the mothers and the daughters. Made me think a lot about my own life, in the way that I was raised American, but my parents are from different places. So that little bit of a connection of being an American child to immigrant parents, not fully, I don't want to say appreciating, because I am appreciative, but there is that, let me try to find the quote. I would love to finish this conversation, but I have to go now. The story is one of my favorite and so captivating and special for me since it's my first reading and discussion. Oh, well, thank you for stopping by, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was like a jigsaw with the pieces slowly coming together. I felt that entirely. I felt it was as if like we were cleaning a window, and every time we read something else, it got cleaner and cleaner until eventually we could kind of see through it. Maybe it was a mirror. I don't know. It was cool. It was one of those rare books that captivates you from the first sentence. Let's read the first sentence. My father asked me to be the fourth corner at the Joy Luck Club. I am to replace my mother, whose seat at the mahjong table has been empty since she died 2 months ago. My father thinks she was killed by her own thoughts. I have to agree. I love the different perspectives because they really made me rethink some of the ideas and events in this book. Well, it seems like you're turning into a vampire because your eyes are turning red so fast. I am exhausted. The book was really interesting. I loved reading about their different traditions and customs. Some of it's similar to things we do here in India. That is amazing. I would love... I wish you could tell me... Can you tell me more specifically, or at least give me one, and the group, one example of where you felt this book really kind of related to your culture, because that would be really cool. I think that the way the mothers protected and created possibilities for their daughters from their own experiences, it makes you really appreciate your parents in a way, realizing how much that they really do have to give to you and or sacrifice so that you can have the life that you have or have sacrificed. I think about my parents in that case, all the things they've sacrificed to give me the life that I have, and both of their stories are fascinating. It was so interesting seeing the connections between the generations and why the mothers acted the way they did towards life and their daughters. Yes. The book has a gorgeous cover as well. Yes. I love how each chapter is a little story, but they're all so connected. Right? First generations often feels pulls in two directions. I want to see if I can find this quote. So for me, it's page 251. Queen Mother of the Western Skies is the section. This section really kind of grabbed me. Where was it? Saint took me to America, where I lived in houses smaller than the one in the country. I wore large American clothes. I did servants' tasks. I learned the Western ways. I tried to speak with a thick tongue. I raised a daughter, watching her from another shore. I accepted her American ways. With all these things, I did not care. I had no spirit. The idea that I raised a daughter, watching her from another shore, I love that part. For me, that was something that struck me because of that understanding that she was her daughter, but very different than what not that she would have liked to raise, but there was a disconnect and a loss there that won't ever really kind of be fixed. Not fixed, connected, but not. Interesting. I thought the meanings behind all the names was profound. It made me think a lot about how your name can shape you into who you are before your life even begins. What the huck and Polar? What a great question! Like, what a great observation. I agree. I thought that was fascinating. How one of the moms chose Winston and I can't remember the other name, but yes, cool. I felt so connected to this book as a half Chinese girl who moved from Hong Kong at 7 with just my white parents. Wow, awesome. Did you enjoy the book? Do you like how? If you don't mind sharing a little more, that would be awesome, because I would love to hear what that experience was like reading this book. I felt that I enjoyed it and was connected to it in a bigger sense because of connection to parents and those lost things through generations, but the parts of culture that do come through to teach and raise you. But at the same time, I'm not Chinese. I didn't have this experience. Experience very specific. That's cool. This book had a very personal meaning for me because I saw my mother through it. And perhaps a side of her, I didn't understand before I understand now. That's cool. My all-time favorite. Oh, thanks. I have an account. Oh, cool. And my Chinese family never spoke Chinese with me until after I'd lost the language, but still expected me to keep up with the Chinese culture despite being cut off from it. Language is such an important part of culture. I mean, think about think it was the same chapter where she talked about her pain, and she had to squeeze it into something so she could understand it, and then get her spirit back so she can give it to her daughter. And I was like, that is so not how Western, how we in America, how we talk. It's not even the way we think. We don't think in terms of spirits and tigers. And it was fascinating to read that and see that and imagine what it would be like to have parents who think like that and use those ancient wisdoms and things that have been passed down to teach you when you're in a culture in a world that maybe isn't old enough to have those things, but also I'm talking about like the United States has only been around for 276 years or something, Accidentally sent this to the end. Sent this with the end. I think the way mothers protected and created possibly very interesting. It really resonated with me, especially how easy it was for different generations to live with each other, but not really know each other or understand each other deep down. Yes. Of course, Alberto. Oh, thank you. I found it similar when it came to wedding customs and rituals. Sadly, arranged marriages are very common here, as well as child marriage. It is very sad. But an interesting part that allowed you to connect to this book, something you understand in a different way. I think that's super cool, although completely different place and culture, still connective. And that idea, I think, is cool. The mothers used the storytelling to give them advice, to warn them of dangers and what they would face in the future, but all based on their own personal experiences. I think that's what parents have to do. They go from a place they know and a place that they feel comfortable with to move forward. Hugs and kisses from South Carolina. I was just in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, but close. My mother and I disagree about a lot of things. Being born in 1983, her growing up and raising isn't the same as mine, and just now I feel closer to her. Stop it. Yeah, I read before when I was picking this book, I read that it was an amazing book for mother-daughters. Because there's a relationship there I will never understand as a son. And I think I did read that this book is interesting in that way for mothers and daughters to read because of that connection, that relationship. I'm sure many of you that are daughters might feel that way, that this book, I'm not sure. Do many of you feel that way, that there is this idea where mothers and daughters, there's a connection in this book that maybe you felt as a daughter? Can we talk about that? Is it just 2 generations, though? Because it felt like 3 to me. We didn't see much, but I also felt the presence of grandmothers every time one of these, my mom used to. Well, I think that's the point. For me, I felt that presence especially when the daughter was examining her mother's face, and Rory, the hairstylist, said they looked alike. And she was like, oh, wow, your cheeks are like mine, your nose is like mine. And then she noticed that imperfection in her nose and was like, oh, this is why we're looking in 2 other ways. But she goes, this my mother said to me and read me a fortune. And the whole time I'm reading it thinking, well, what does this mean for her daughter? If she says they're all alike. It's like they're almost mirror images of each other. I thought it was interesting the way they talked and analyzed American culture and how that changed the way they thought. And now she's like, you'll never be Chinese. Like you'll the way you carry your face, they will know you don't belong. And I thought that was cool. Just even saying the way you carry your face. We don't say that in the States. We say like the way you hold yourself, the way you carry yourself, but your face specifically. I don't know if that was a specific thing. I don't know if it's a translation thing, but I thought it was interesting. I don't know. I love this book. I don't know if you guys can tell. My parents are getting old now, and I realize I don't know them at all. If they asked me what their favorite song was, for instance, no idea. And I think that's something that this book talks about in a way that it's like, you always do know them. Give me one sec. You always do know them. Like, Jing Mei Wu, she knew her mother, and meeting her sisters was very difficult, and she was so nervous about it. But the minute she saw each other, their family, and she saw her mother and them, and all 3 of them together looked like like there are things that she'll be able to say, maybe not as well, but if it's still possible, maybe this book will help you learn more about them. And I feel like, I'm going to go on a little tangent here. I feel like for me, part of getting older for me has been learning more about my family, hearing more stories about when my father immigrated to Cuba, other things that my family went through in New Jersey, or God, I can't remember right now. But just like stories that you only hear when you get older and you start asking the right questions. And you're like, wow, how come you never told me that? Like, oh, no, I haven't thought about it. You're like, what? That's a huge part of our lives. Like, I wish I knew more about this. What am I talking about? The Mariel boat lift. I'd never heard, not that I'd never heard, but I didn't know a lot about it. And then I heard my dad talking about it, and it's like, whoa, what? So things like that. I loved how the mothers were trying to teach the daughters their traditional ways, but then not really understanding until much later what the mothers were trying to teach them. I feel like that's a lot of growing up, is like seeing what your parents teach you, and then as you get older, you're like, oh, that's why. Oh, that's why. Oh, now I get it. Why? Okay. I celebrate Chinese New Year, can speak some Chinese, but aren't very fluent. Oh, cool. That's what I loved most. It was like women sharing their stories and experiences, and the fact that they were from different generations made it even more interesting. It made me cry. It made me think about the sacrifice I did 2 years ago. Moving to England, had to leave my husband and kids in Portugal to provide them for a better life. Fantastic book, Alberto. I'm so glad you loved it, Sophia. That's amazing. And the sacrifices parents make, it really does blow your mind. I bet your family's it feels very lucky to have it. Wow. I'm catching up on things you're saying, if that's okay. It was so sad that June's mother never got to see her lost children. I agree. Imagine having to have done that, to have to leave your babies, but then also spending your whole life trying to find them, and that is very sad. This book was touching for me because, I didn't get along with Rush Dad years ago, and I keep thinking about how I could have done things differently. I'm sorry. Just wondering when you choose your next book. This is my first live chat, and I would love to contribute more to the next one. Okay, we have about 15 minutes left, so we will talk about the next reading in about 10 minutes. Is that cool? For anyone that just joined or is still curious, we are talking about The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. I believe, Rita, check my math on this, I believe it was our 19th book. Or is Anne of Green Gables our 19th book? Yeah. So many books. I connected with the book because of my relationship with my mom. The book is amazing. So many relatable stories. My most favorite thing about this book, showing both sides. Yes. One of the big themes in this book is that the daughters found it difficult to reconcile their Chinese heritage with their American surroundings because it's the environment they grew up with. Yeah. I mean, again, just a completely different world that I've noticed. And one of the themes is the challenges of cultural translation. Because the barriers between the Chinese and the American cultures are exacerbated by imperfect translation of language, the mothers use storytelling to circumvent these barriers and communicate with their daughters. The stories they tell are often educational, warning against certain mistakes or giving advice based on past successes. For instance, Ying Ying's decision to tell Lena about her past is motivated by the desire to warn Lena against the passivity and fatalism that Ying Ying suffered. Storytelling is also employed to communicate messages of love and pride, and to illumine one's inner self for others. Another use of storytelling concerns historical legacy, the problems of immigrant identity. Wow, I want to read this real quick. Most of the children spent their childhoods trying to escape their Chinese identities. Lena would walk around the house with her eyes open as far as possible so as to make them look more European. Jingmei denied during adolescence that she had any internal Chinese aspects, insisting that her Chinese identity was limited only by her external features. And Lindo meditates that Waverly would have clapped her hands for joy during her teen years as if her mother had told her that she did not look Chinese. I thought that was an interesting part. As they mature, the daughters sense that their identities are incomplete and become interested in their Chinese heritage. I will say it again. I absolutely love this book. I'm going to scroll through to get to other quotes. I'm going to look quickly. Okay, I will try to pin the book. Gosh, I don't know how to do this well. Come on. It's not working. I'm trying. I'm pressing and holding my comment. Oh, got it. Thank you. Okay. The fear of disappointing shake me, because even if they are so different, the daughters are so worried for their mother's opinions. Oh, good idea. Camille, let's do quotes. What are some people's favorite quotes? Let's dive into that. I saw what I wanted. His eyes, confused and scarce. He was hooly hoodoo. The power of my words was that strong. I love that part. When she kind of put the husband in his place, or was able to start using that. So I had to skip down to the end. So can we do quotes now? Favorite quotes. I read some of mine. The wound begins to close on itself. Quotes time! After the initial shock, I realized I didn't miss him at all. I just missed the way I felt when I was with him. That was a good one. All good, all good. She whispered to me that she would rather kill her own weak spirit so she could give me a stronger one. How much can you wish for a favorite warm coat that hangs in the closet of a house that burned down with your mother and father inside of it? Whew. But she never looked back with regret. There were so many ways for things to get better. If you have the right ears, but you must listen to your opportunities. It's my fault she is this way. I wanted my children to have the best combination, American circumstances and Chinese character. How could I know these two things did not mix? Loved that whole chapter. I think was my favorite chapter. And even worse, I never asked her what frightened her the most. Why would she give up hope? I also see what part of me is Chinese. It is so obvious. It is my family. It is our blood. After all these years, it can finally be let go. We weren't allowed to think a bad thought. We feasted, we laughed, we played games, lost and won. We told the best stories, and each week we could hope to be lucky. That hope was our only joy. Auntie had a tongue like hungry scissors eating silk cloth. I love that one. I made a promise to myself. I would always remember my parents' wishes, but I would never forget myself. I love that too. I loved my shadow, this dark side of me that had my same restless nature. Yes, love that one. Not a quote exactly, can't remember where it was exactly, but I love the part about how a person is made up of the different elements and how the balance of those elements is what shapes a personality. Yes, I love that part too. I think, again, a fascinating way of thinking. Strongest wind cannot be seen. Thank you, little queen. Then you must teach my daughter the same lesson. How to lose your innocence, but not your hope. How to laugh forever. Yes. My mother and I never really understood one another. We translated each other's meetings, and I seemed to hear less than what was said, while my mother heard more. How can the world in all its chaos come up with so many coincidences, so many similarities and exact opposites? Love that quote too. Because sometimes that is the only way to remember what is in your bones. You must peel off your skin, and that of your mother's, and her mother before her. Yes! What will I say? What can I tell them about my mother? I don't know anything. She was my mother. It pains me so much to admit that this would be my exact answer as well. Oh. But I think she learned more in this idea of needing to discover it. In her hands, I always became the pawn. I could only run away, and she was the queen, able to move in all directions, relentless in her pursuit, always able to find my weakest spots. It feels like no one can know you as best as your mother can. I know, Camille always wins with the quotes. I know we all see it. Together we look like our mother, the same eyes, her same mouth open in surprise. To see at last her long cherished wish. Have I a favorite quote? No, my favorite quote is just that chapter about the tiger spirit and how she had to get rid of it and now she wanted to get it back. To me, This is one of my favorites. So this is what I will do. I will gather together my past and look. I will see a thing that has already happened. The pain that cut my spirit loose. I will hold that pain in my hand until it becomes hard and shiny, more clear. And then my fierceness can come back, my golden side, my black side. I will use this sharp pain to penetrate my daughter's tough skin and cut her tiger spirit loose. She will fight me because that is the nature of two tigers, but I will win and give her my spirit. Because this is the way a mother loves her daughter. I hear my daughter speaking to her husband downstairs. They say words that mean nothing. They sit in a room with no life in it. I know a thing before it happens. She will hear the vase and table crashing to the floor. She will come up the stairs and into my room. Her eyes will see nothing in the darkness, where I am waiting between the trees. Love that quote. Love that chapter. The chapter about the little boy being lost at sea was just heartbreaking. Right? Poor Bing. Do I have a favorite character? I would have to say it's the one I just read. I keep having to go back to it. Ying Ying St. Clair. I just love that chapter. I know that poor mother. I was taught to desire nothing, to swallow other people's misery, to eat my own bitterness. All right. So last thoughts to wrap it up. I agree. This one goes up there for me as one of my favorite books we read. I felt like I tore through it. I mean, at one point I sat down for like 2 hours and I read like 120 pages in one sitting. I don't know how long it was. Maybe it wasn't 2 hours, but I feel like I at least read a page a minute and was like, next thing I know, 2.5 hours, and I'm like, wow, I just sat here in one spot. And I didn't notice. Like, I noticed when I had left, I didn't notice right away. We have about 3 minutes, because I have to catch a plane. Favorite book so far, no contest. Been waiting to see it since you put it on the list. Definitely worth the wait. Yes, I could have easily read it in one sitting if I had enough time to do it. This book has made me think so much. There's so much to unpack and learn. It's definitely a book I'm going to have to reread. One of my favorites. I love it. Thank you. Love this book. So heartbreaking, heartwarming at the same time. This book almost had me crying on the bus only a few minutes in. I'm not going to lie. When I finished this book, I sat here in this chair and I took a moment and was like, wow. I did get a little teary-eyed. Thought that was great. So this is our 19th book. Okay. Cool. All right. So I have an announcement. I've decided we will start Anne of Green Gables in August. I know I'd originally said we weren't going to do a summer hiatus, but I was looking at my con schedule and travel schedule, and it's going to get busy for all of us. I like the summer being a time where you have your own reading, and we all get to kind of like chill, and then also, I know we have a bunch of other things. Maybe some of you finish school and want to take some time off. Maybe a lot of us are traveling. So I think we're going to wait until August. I will post an announcement at some point about when we will start reading and how far. Like anything, you are more than welcome to start the book early and be prepared. It'll probably be the beginning of August. That, to me, that seems like August, that first week at some point. Pay attention for a tweet or get this time to catch up with the books I missed from the first year. Awesome. Just bought The Great Gatsby in Paris and read it in between. It was such a good read. I loved The Great Gatsby. Do you have new titles for us? No, that's another reason. I need time to get more titles. Also, so I can give you time. So pay attention, because I might post occasionally just to say also after and give I want to have 3 or 4 more titles on top of this. So no Count of Monte Cristo. I hope that face said enough. Oh my gosh, Count of Monte Cristo. Let me put it up here. Time is cool. August is cool. Cool Rosende reads. Looking forward to all the books we're going to tackle next. Yes, I guess I have time to read It by Stephen King. Yes, Alberto, watch your answer about the Count of Monte Cristo by Monte Cristo. I'm not saying anything bad about it. Love the book. I've read it before. Love the book. Very long to read in a group setting. You know what? Just put it in your back pocket. I got an idea for it. Back pocket. We're gonna just save it. That's all I'm gonna say. I'll say no more. So, can I ask you guys a question real quick? What do you guys think about expanding the book to even books that have to deal with business, personal life, stuff that is more nonfiction, but still valuable? I know we tend to read a lot of fiction. We've read a couple of books based on real life, so we've read some nonfiction, but I'm talking about like the personal growth books. How does everyone feel about that? I'm not into nonfiction. All right, cool. Let's do it. Why not? Can be interesting. Okay, yes, absolutely. If anyone wants to know what I will be reading, it's a book my mother recommended for me because she said I need to keep working on developing positive, good habits. So I will be reading The Power of Habit this summer in our little hiatus. And I think I wanted to pick one more. And I don't want to commit to it just yet. But it's probably going to be a Kurt Vonnegut book. Okay, cool. So it'd be cool in a group setting. I wouldn't pick something really long. I'd be interested in also maybe in like plays, contemporary and classic. Good idea. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look into that. I've read The Power of Habit. Awesome. What'd you think? Open book is open mind. Quote by me. Love that. Curious about the plot. Alberto, why don't you do like my literature teacher and ask us on Monday to read the count for next Wednesday? Because I feel like if you have a literature teacher doing that, you don't need me to do it. You know? I'm reading The Once and Future King Camelot. Cool. Poems. Plays are quick reads. Plays would be the type of thing that I'd say on Monday, read this play for Friday. And then Friday we would discuss the whole play. So I think that's how I would do plays, because I agree, they're very quick reads. Don't read enough plays. I don't think I read enough plays. I haven't read a play in a couple months. This is a long time to not read a play. Thrillers 2, new titles, great book, really fascinating to see life in patterns. I recently reread A Raisin in the Sun. I've never read it. All right, you know what? I'm going to head out. Here's what we're going to do. Over the summer, if you guys get new books, just tweet them to me. The way we did before. Just say, hey, this book be interesting, this book be interesting. Any ideas, anything we can do, let's all put it together, and I will start to do, start posting them and start saying what I think we should do. A biography would be great. It'd be hard to decide who to read about. But yeah. So, thank you all for joining. It was an awesome discussion. I have to go because I have to go to the airport. But what if I'm not on Twitter? I'm always on Twitter. I just don't. I might not. I'll see it. I'll see it. Have a fantastic summer. Yes, what the Hucklepolar. Thank you. Have a fantastic summer, everyone. It's been awesome reading with you. We will pick back up in August for all of you in Paris. Can't wait to see you. Yeah, I'm excited. So continue questioning, continue being curious, continue learning new things, and please, please, please continue to be positive forces of change in your environment. I will see you guys soon. Have a good one, and stay on the lookout for more things. And until next time, I will see you guys soon.